What is my purpose in life? I've asked that question many times. So if you're watching my channel, you'll figure out what my purpose is. And if you haven't, or this is maybe your last video you'll ever watch, well, let me share with you what this is all about, okay? What is my purpose? That is a very, very good question, all right? Well, let's talk about it, guys. This book right here, A Search for Purpose. A Search for Purpose. I co-wrote this book in 2007. 2007, guys. What year is it? Well, it depends when you're watching. It's 2026. That's almost 20 years ago, before some of you were even born. All right? So I want to go through this book because it's a reflection of my past. But guess what? There's some serious consistency here if you continue to watch my channel, because it's one of those things that my purpose, the secret to living, is giving, big or small. I want to help create wealth for all. These are mantras I play in my head all the time because I really am truly, authentically passionate about those two mantras. All right, so let me kind of go through this book. A Search for Purpose, compiled by Stephen E. and Lee Beard. Okay, these are gentlemen that I randomly met at some event, and they put together this amazing book. Dr. Wayne Dyer, Anthony Robbins. These are some big names, right? Well, lo and behold, Joe Mendoza is right there. All right. So I'm not trying to brag or name drop, but it's pretty awesome that in 2007 I co-wrote my first book. Okay, before some of you were born, and in page 111, Finding Perfect Balance. Somebody asked me that yesterday. I was with one of my coaching clients yesterday, and she goes, "Well, how do you find that balance?" Well, I told her it's a little bit of a fallacy, depending where you are in life. Okay, so if you're on this journey, like particularly, let's take real estate, because that's one of my favorite passions, one of my favorite purposes, there will be no balance. Because when you're attempting to really go for something, you got to be willing to make some sacrifices here and there. And I told her specifically, just don't burn out. You have 7 days a week. One day specifically, I like to take Sunday. Sunday for rest, Sunday for God, Sunday with your family, really up to you. But in the beginning, when you're starting your career, your real estate journey, your insurance journey, you're self-employed, you're starting your own business, you're going to have to make sacrifices, but just don't burn out. Because guess what? That's actually what I talked about in my book. Well, in my part of my article in the book, or chapter in the book. All right. I'll read part of it, or maybe the whole thing. Let's see how it goes. So some of you may never ever get a chance to pick this up. Some of you, it's not your thing about reading. You'd rather listen or watch. And I get it. So YouTube, there's a great reason why YouTube's very, very successful. So Finding Perfect Balance by Joe Mendoza. I had first-degree burnout for the second time in 1 year. Burnout. Once a mistake, twice a fool. I knew I had to do something dramatically different this time. I had to change everything from the way I thought, to the way I worked, to the way I lived, not just the way I ate. The first time I experienced burnout, I put myself on a cleansing diet and was able to regain my energy once more. But then it happened again, and I knew God was sending me a very important message. I have been financially broken down before. I once had to file bankruptcy, but this time was different. My mind, my body, and spirit were shattered, and I could no longer see the light. I even lost faith in God Almighty. That's huge, guys. Let that one sink just a little bit. Imagine when you push so hard, you make all these sacrifices, including yourself, where you put yourself last. And that's what I was doing, where I was just pushing and pushing and pushing. I mean, millions, guys, millions of dollars. They say you could be rich, you could be poor. That's purely a choice. Rich is better. I do agree to a certain extent. But here's the reality, guys. You will not take anything when you disappear, or when you die, or when you leave planet Mother Earth. All right. Your spirit will probably live on, et cetera, depending what you believe in. However, the reality is you take nothing, absolutely nothing when you die. Let that one sink a little bit, because you try so hard to accumulate all this stuff. And at the end of the day, it's just stuff. It's just stuff. It kind of saddens me, being in real estate, because I've dealt with probate, and several times that I would go and help these inheritors or these decedents as they take over the estate, including the property. And they're like, what are we going to do with all this stuff? And so I have to hire and figure out how to help them out. It's part of my job. And so, man, I can remember like multiple times they're in these houses with so much stuff, and it's either going into the trash, donation to a friend, maybe sell, maybe keep some of it. And some of these houses that I've been into, holy moly, there's just so much stuff, and majority goes into the trash. So I want you to really think about this, because finding your purpose is something that you should figure out. It is something very, very important that I figured out a long time ago. In the beginning, there's this thing called survival. You got to make the money just to survive. You got to make money just to eat. You got to make barely enough just to pay rent. That's survival. And when you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that is the lowest. Okay, the highest is this thing called self-actualization. And that's where I'm at. I've been there a long, long time. Even when I'm struggling financially, I still go to the pinnacle point, my true north, on serving others. Self-actualization. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please look it up. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where the lowest is survival. The highest, where you thrive and you're content with life, like I could say, God could take it away from me, but if I serve in that place of self-actualization, I'm at peace with myself, with my surroundings. This is pretty deep, guys. So, this is raw and real. I'm just like sharing wisdom, some knowledge and experience. It's one of these things that I know my purpose could be better served if I'm really pouring into you and YouTube and whoever's watching this, because I've been holding back. I haven't been, like many of you, I've been inconsistent. I haven't been playing full out. You get distracted with life. You get distracted with the excuses, etc. But it's at that point where you go back to your purpose, where you're at peace. And so let me kind of continue to read a little bit here, okay? But that was profound and deep. Hopefully you already got something out of there. And again, subscribe, like, follow. Monetization, quite frankly, whoopee-doo. If I get it through YouTube, great. If not, no big deal. Some of you know my story. I started in 2009, actually. And about 4 or 5 months ago, I lost that channel. And I was pouring over 500 videos. And one day I lost it. Anyway, look at that other video, my very first one. I relaunched this channel. So anyway, let me not get too sidetracked here again. I'm just going to kind of jump. I'm not going to read line by line by line. I might bore you. As all of this was going on, I was coaching 30 real estate agents across the country. 30 agents, guys, as well as running a top producing real estate team. I had to teach both groups how to be mentally tough, no matter what was going on in their lives. Little did they know, I was struggling with my own battles. Some of you considering being a coach, it may look easy, but it's not. I mean, I've been doing it 15 plus years, okay? And then some of my coaching clients, they're like, yeah, one day I want to be a coach. Or some of them, they'll do it right away. Wow, Joe, this is such an easy job. Little do they realize it's harder than you think. So before you really consider being a coach, I want you to look at the ins and outs and sacrifice you're going to have to make. Because being a coach is something I truly am passionate about. I was coaching 30 in 2007. I mean, pick up this book. This book was written in 2007. Fast forward 2026, I'm right around 20 something, which to me is a good number. For me, 20 to 30-ish. I mean, I've been up to almost 60 at one point. That's to me too much. To me. I mean, I know some other coaches, some of my colleagues, they're pushing like 80 to 100 plus. That's too much, one-on-one. And that's a lot. So anyway, I was struggling with my own battles. So realize when you have a coach, you don't know what they're going through. One of my coaches right now, she's fighting cancer and she's fighting for her life, and it's one of those things that I empathize with her, because sometimes, I think of the complaints or the excuses or the things I'm not doing. I'm like, you know what, coach, you don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. You worry about you, and I told her that because I sincerely care about her, and she's an amazing woman. But I'll tell you what, like when sometimes my coaching clients come up to me and, over the 15 years, I mean, I have one person that I've been working with 11 years. And so over the 15 years, I get close with some of my clients and I'll share. I'll be transparent because I know our coaching goes way beyond just one-on-one. What are you doing? How many calls did you make? How many hours of power? When I get really close with my clients, I get a bit transparent, but still it's more about them, you. I don't bore them with my stories or my drama or whatever I'm going through, but I'll be transparent. So like if I'm going through stuff and I have to switch around my schedule here and there, I'm going to tell them so they understand and show some empathy. All right. So as a client, a coaching client, you should flip flop too. It goes two ways. If you really want to work with your coach and make this a long relationship, you should reciprocate too. You know, if you're flexible, they should be flexible, vice versa. Coach, client, student, teacher, mentor, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, let me jump ahead. This is just one chapter. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have health, good health to enjoy it, or people to share it with, then what good is it? All my life, I have chased money and things. And I have many of those things, even today. You know, I mentioned I filed bankruptcy. When I went really hard, I made millions. In 2008 mortgage meltdown, I lost millions and property and all that stuff. But guess what? In 2014, if you follow me and you watch my YouTube, you know, you can't hold a comeback kid down forever. So guess what? I rebuilt it. Absolutely. You know, unfortunately, some of my colleagues in real estate and other businesses, they fell off the deep end. I mean, some went to prison for just doing the wrong stuff. Just watch my channel. I don't want to get, you probably heard it if you've been watching my channel. From the bankruptcy I described earlier, when I literally had nothing, I created $1 million net worth in less than 2 years. I bought my dream car, a Porsche 911, made over $1 million in income in 1 year, and still I felt empty. Fortunately, Dr. Meltzer got me back in the saddle and helped me achieve balance and clarity. So Dr. Meltzer, he actually is here, and I don't know if he's still alive, quite frankly, but if you are, I appreciate you, Dr. Meltzer. You did so much, and I shared about you in my book. He was a holistic doctor, so he recentered me. I did a lot of acupuncture. I did some major cleansing for 1 straight year, folks. I became a vegan, where like it wasn't so much about the belief about animals and this and that. It was more like I gotta be more natural and cleanse my body, garbage in, garbage out. And so it was one of those things where for 1 straight year I was a vegan, believe it or not. And I looked good, I felt good, my skin was nice. Some people go, dude, you're kind of pale. but it was a food. I mean, garbage in, garbage out, right? Your food affects your mood. So anyway, what screwed it up is I went to Philippines. And I went there and it was very hard to maintain that vegan lifestyle, very hard, you know, depending where you go. And we were just bouncing around city to city. So anyway, the temptation, the smell of the food. And if you've never been to Philippines, folks, go to Philippines. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I went to this one really decent, I want to say fancy smancy, but a really decent restaurant in a mall. I took 3 families. Well, I didn't take them. They took me. And then I took care of the bill for 3 families, 5-course meal. At the time, it wasn't even $100. Things haven't changed much. Of course, there's inflation and all that. But still, if you go to Philippines, I guarantee you it's a lot less expensive than here in the U.S. As a matter of fact, if you watch and realize actually somebody who works with me now, I've got a couple of VAs, virtual assistants in the Philippines helping me out. $5 an hour goes a long, long way, okay? If you're paying that much, you better expect a lot, okay? Anyway, watch my channel. I know about VAs. I even started in 2008. God has made things very clear. I have found my purpose. Most of my life, I have chased money. I worked hard, but never got there. I finally learned after many trials and tribulations that there is right here, right now. All the power is truly within, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. I have been taking things for granted most of my life. I have been very wasteful. It was a paradigm shift for me to realize and redefine what it means to struggle. I have had it made all my life and didn't even realize it. We live in a great country where there is truly massive abundance and freedom, and I simply lacked balance. I had worked so hard at achieving financial wealth that all the other areas of my life fell apart. thank God my wife and my 2 kids hung with me as they did. And thank God they're still here today. Yes, it's a little emotional. It's one of these things, guys, that, again, you could work so hard and realize it's not going to be there forever. I tell my coaching clients this, especially when they're new to me and they're very successful already, and they're like, God, where is it? Where am I missing out? And I tell them, especially if they have young kids, your young kids won't be young forever. And all they're going to remember is the time you spent with them. They're not going to remember the toys or the fancy stuff you bought for them. And if you're a parent, please follow this advice. Because I made sacrifices, even going through all this, where there was sometimes, it was next to impossible when your daughter's at softball, your son's at baseball. You got to kind of split and go separate ways. So you're going to miss part of the game. But don't let that be something you sacrifice for a client who disrespects you, that is just not caring about you, your family, and not as flexible when you're jumping through hoops and hoops and hoops to try and serve them and keep them happy. Little do they know all the sacrifices you're making, especially as a realtor. When you're working nights, Saturdays, Sundays, and skipping out on all this stuff, and next thing you know, they don't buy from you after showing 60, 70, 80 homes. Guys, this is a true story. I've done that, okay? The true story. And that's probably you as a realtor. And I'm realtor, whatever you want to call it. I want to talk to you as well. And if you're in insurance or whatever, I want you to think about that. Because again, you make all these sacrifices at the end of the day. These clients won't even care about you, right? They might not even buy from you. And then you trade off your family to serve them. So remember, search for purpose. Find that out. The quality of your life is determined by the questions you ask yourself. The quality of your life is determined by the questions you ask yourself. What kind of questions are you asking yourself? I want you to ask yourself some very important, powerful questions that'll better serve you and your family. Because if you're not asking yourself these questions, look at the quality of your life. I run a mastermind for the last 8 years. 8 years. Why? Because I love it. It's one of my purposes, to serve, to help. I love it. I'm passionate about it. And it's one of those things, guys, that I ask my group as well. The quality of this mastermind will be determined by the quality of questions you ask, the quality of your participation. Do you even show up? Okay? And there's some people that show up and show up and show up, and you look at them and they're very successful. And then there's people that don't show up, that are spontaneous, and you look at their life and their business. Same thing. What you do is what you get. Okay? Can you have it all? Of course you can. But you must define it for yourself. What is all? Become crystal clear on what having it all means to you. Discover the true meaning of your life. Develop much clarity, purpose, passion. What excites you? What makes you happy? Those are very important questions, guys. What excites you? What makes you happy? What excites you? What makes you happy? I asked it several times. Write it down. Pause it. Rewatch this. What excites you? What makes you happy? Well, I shared what makes me happy, what excites me. I love to teach. I love to train. I love to coach. I love real estate. Those are things that I could do for free. And I do for free sometimes. So when you imagine how much time I put into some of these things, I'm actually at a negative sometimes. But does that matter? No, because I am being self-actualized. I'm serving my purpose. I'm getting fulfilled in many different ways. Because some of you measure success only on finances and stuff. That's a poor way to measure your life. That's a poor way to measure your life. Your life could be measured by many other ways, such as how are you spiritually? How are you financially? How are you health-wise? Okay, just because it's one chapter, it's pretty deep. As I read it again, I'm like, wow, I actually wrote that. And guess what, guys? Pre-Chat GPT, pre-Gemini, all that AI stuff. This is real, folks. This was coming from my heart. This was like, oh my God, I edited it. I got one chapter where I just got to drop some gold and let's put it all together and let's see what comes out. And this is what came out. All right. Marshall Thurber, a masterful genius, once said to me, my wife keeps asking me, when am I going to stop working? I didn't even know I started. I don't know if he's around, if he still is, Marshall. That stuck. That really stuck. Okay, look him up. He's amazing. I went through some of his training, and his son's a very successful producer in Hollywood. Anyway, I've had some really, really amazing people in my life that I hired, that coached me, that was my private mentor. I've been in masterminds. That's why I am what I am. Anyway, find powerful people that you look up to and model them. Be them. Success is truly easy. The 6 inches between our ears is what makes it hard. It's your thinking. Is your thinking stinking? Do you have stinking thinking? Garbage in, garbage out. What are you watching? What are you paying attention to? Where's your focus? Because if your focus is on stuff that is not serving you, garbage in, garbage out. I do believe in moderation as well, where there's one thing that I'm very, very obsessed with that I know sometimes could be a problem. I'm obsessed with learning. I mean, I've got books and books stacked. My wife's sometimes like, dude, what the hell, Joe? Donate some of that. I'm like, I can't. I don't know. I'm obsessed. Like some of the stuff I read over and over. And like even this, I haven't read this in a long time. And I reread it. I'm like, you saw how emotional I got, just for that one split second. And as you change and you get better and you learn new things, the same book is not the same book. They say rethink and grow rich every single year for the rest of your life. And as you grow and develop, that's a new book. And I agree with that. So I don't know where I heard it from, but that's so true. And that's why part of the reason why I keep these books around my house is because I read it at a different place in my life. I pick it up and I'm like, holy smoke. And some of this stuff I even forgot, quite frankly. And I'm like reading it today and I'm like, wow. Anyway, often when we get into our busy mode, we forget who we truly are and become human doings. You do. To have the stuff you're trying to work for, to be finally the person you want to be. We must constantly remind ourselves we are human beings. We are human beings. See, the formula that you guys have sometimes is a bit screwed up because you've never heard what I'm about to share with you, which I partially did. You do, have, be. I'm going to do the work to have the stuff to finally be the successful person that I've been dreaming about. That formula is screwed up. It's totally screwed up. Okay. And I didn't know any better. So that's what I did. I'm going to do real estate so I could have the stuff, so I could be the successful person with a Porsche 911. It's screwed up. Be, do, have. Be, do, have. You want something, you got to be that person today. Live in the present moment of your beingness. Like I said, you're already successful. You're already rich, believe it or not. But you're measuring rich in different ways that you're taking your other stuff where you are rich for granted. For instance, let me break that down a little bit because some of you are like, dude, what the hell, Joe? This is too deep. This is over my head. Some of you measure success just on finances and money, where in another part of your life, you're like super physically fit. You're spiritually fit. Well, guys, you're rich. You're rich in other parts of your life that you're neglecting or not giving yourself credit for. So I want you to realize that. Be grateful for some of the stuff you're already successful at. Be grateful for the stuff you're thriving at. You're rich. I went to the Philippines around 2007, around when this book was published, and I went to the barrio. I went to Batangas. That's where my parents actually were from. And, I remember visiting my grandma on my dad's side. And when I left, as I was leaving, I started getting very emotional. It's like, oh my God, there were mixed emotions of happiness, of guilt, of sadness, of this and that, and so I was getting very emotional because I haven't seen her in decades and I finally got to see her. And I was like, Man, these guys are happy. They were happy. They were genuinely happy, yet they lived in a steel shack. I wanted to pause on purpose. These people were happy, genuinely happy, and they lived in a steel shack. Okay? They found their happiness through other different ways, in other words. And some of you folks, again, you're measuring success in the wrong way. All this stuff you're not going to have when you leave. You're not. And I want you to rearrange your life, rearrange your thinking on how you want to move forward after watching this video. Because I'm here to serve, guys. Really, big or small, I want to help create wealth for all, truly. I'm going to keep making videos. I'm going to keep serving. I'm going to keep giving in whatever way I can, whether it's YouTube, whether it's a public speaking event, or whether it's writing more books. As long as I'm here, I'm going to keep giving and giving and giving. I mean, I have lots of training, lots of knowledge, went through so many masterminds and training, and I still will, because it's one of these things I'm obsessed with learning. I want to surround myself with great people. And some of you aren't quite there to get into these bigger masterminds, coaching, etc. Work your way up. Work your way up, because it's one of these things where get this stuff for free for now, because that's what you could afford. Learn on YouTube, read these books, do whatever you can for now. Be resourceful. And as you go higher and higher and higher in the level of success or the food chain, it does get different, because proximity is power. As you get higher and higher in the level of financial success and other ways of success, the people up in the higher food chains, that, for lack of a better word, their time is valuable. It truly is. Where, I think I said on my other video, if you want to buy me a cup of coffee or lunch, once in a while I'll do that. Once in a while I'll do that. But I've got to reprioritize. If I make a sacrifice for somebody that will buy me a cup of coffee or a pizza in 2 or 3 hours, well, meanwhile, this client who's paying me like $1,000 an hour or more, I'm taking away from their time. And so you got to realize that everyone has 24 hours in a day. And some of us, like me and a few of my other leaders, and you'll see the influencers, they go country to country, plane to plane, and they're nonstop. And sometimes we pour out so much that we don't even give time for ourselves. That's our sometimes our strength, but our weakness too, because we give and we give and we give and we give, and we forget about us. We forget about our family. We forget about our health. We forget about our spirituality. We sometimes forget, or sometimes we prioritize in other ways. So anyway, keep watching, subscribing. I'm going to keep preaching and teaching, baby. Preaching and teaching. So love you guys. Be grateful. Find your purpose. Find your passion. Be, do, have. Be, do, have. Not do, to have, to be. Change it. You are very successful. You are very rich. Measure it in different ways. I promise you, you're probably way more successful with your family. You're way more successful with your kids. I mean, look at all these folks that are very, very rich. Then they have a screwed up marriage, or their kids are screwed up. Okay? Take care. God bless. See you later, alligator. Be passionate. Live your amazing life. Keep watching, subscribing. That's the thanks you're going to give me. I mean, that's the thanks. Sharing is caring. Share my channel. Share my words of wisdom. Take it, run on with it. Use ChatGPT, Gemini. Do whatever you want with it. I mean, this book was pre-ChatGPT, pre-ChatGPT, I spoke from my heart. And I just poured out one chapter. It's still on Amazon if you want to check it out. Peace out. See you later, alligator. Love you guys. Bye.